Welcome back, everyone, to the Messenger podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, or if you are a member already, welcome back. My name is Malachi Berta, and I'll be your host for this evening. We have the beautiful Erica with us. She has an amazing story, amazing testimony. She's accomplished a lot, and I definitely believe that her message is worthwhile and is really what this platform is all about. And I definitely want to give her a space and a platform to share her message for those who need to hear it, and for someone out there that it may inspire, motivate to keep going and put one foot in front of the other. So without further ado, Erica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me, Malachi. My name is Erica King. Yeah, I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, and I definitely have a testimony to share on your platform. And I appreciate you for even allowing me to share my testimony, because it's so crazy that this is happening, because I feel like God has been dealing with me on sharing my testimony, because I'm such a private person that I don't talk about certain things a lot. So this is a great opportunity to share exactly what God has done in my life. So thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned that God puts you in places or really moves you to share a testimony. I can definitely attest to that. I've seen your journey, some parts of your journey, very surface level, what you post on social media, but I definitely attest
Yeah.
when, especially when you've been through a lot, it's hard in the beginning, but then you realize there's just the impact of sharing it can have on somebody, a lot of people. So no, thank you for accepting an invite. So you mentioned that you're from Columbus, Ohio. A lot of people don't know where that's at, never heard of it. And so
Right.
what was your childhood like growing up?
Sure. Yeah, Ohio is a small state, and Columbus is the capital, but it's a really small city. So I grew up small city. I grew up on the east side of Columbus. I was born and raised on the east side. And eventually my mom had moved us to like the suburbs of Columbus. Where I grew up, it wasn't, the trenches or anything like that, but it was like a impoverished area.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom uh, moved us to the suburbs. She was a hard worker. I got to see my mom being a hard worker all my life, really. My childhood, I've healed from my childhood, because it took a long time for me to heal from my
Yeah.
childhood. My childhood, I thought like my childhood was normal until I would share my story with others, unintentionally, by the way, because I'm a very private person, but certain people I've opened up to about my childhood and my upbringing, and I realized like, oh, people don't grow up this way. Like it's a tad different. I grew up and seeing a lot, experienced a lot at a very young age. And that a lot was a lot of violence. Um, from the ages of 3 to 6, I was molested as a child. And then it was from like a family friend. She was my babysitter, but it was like her grandson who was the
Mm-hmm.
perpetrator. And that was a lot to get through as I grew older, because certain traumas and triggers that were occurring, I didn't really understand until I got older and was able to understand like exactly what happened to
Yeah.
me at a very young age. Um, at the age of 5 years old, uh, I saw um, a family friend, uh, my uncle really, he beat my dad like right in front of us, to the point where my dad had to be hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that day clear as day. Um, and then just seeing my parents argue, my parents, it was just like a lot of violence in the home.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was raised in the church. Uh, I was raised Pentecostal, so they were very strict. At a certain age, I was told I had to stop wearing pants and all of that. Like that was my upbringing. Um, and people would probably equate it to something as like a cult, the
Yeah.
way I grew up. But I used to blame God a lot for the way I was raised, for what happened to me. But today, I can tell you I am completely healed,
Yeah.
and even still healing, because there's certain times where I'll experience a trigger, but
Yeah.
God really just wrapped his arms around me, and I got to know him for myself. A lot of times, in growing up in Black households, we were raised to go to church. That was like
Hmm.
a tradition for most Black households. And my mother is Asian. She's from Taiwan, but she identifies herself as Black. I don't know why, but that's just her, because she was, even though she was born in Taiwan, she moved here when she was like 15. She moved to Philly because my second grandfather, um, my grandmother, she married and had all of her kids with my first grandpa, my biological grandfather, but I never met him because he died before I was born. Um, During that time, my grandmother met another man. He was stationed, he was like in the military. So he was stationed out in Taiwan, met my grandmother, and he was Black. So he moved her and all of her children, her four children, to America, where he was living in Philly. So they had a blended family. That grandfather I never met because he died before I was born as well. Um, but that's how my parents met. They met in Philly. And then my mom started to go to college in Columbus, Ohio. She went to DeVry University. So that's how like I ended up born and raised from Columbus, Ohio. Um, but yeah, growing up, we were taught to go to church and things of that.
Hmm.
So I felt like a lot of it was pushed onto us as kids. But I really got to know who Jesus Christ is for myself.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, if anyone has experienced hurt and trauma from the church, or you know, blames certain traumas from the church, I'm here to tell you that that was people who hurt you.
Yeah.
It wasn't God who hurt you. Some people, you know, we pray for people that aren't really understanding of God's real word and who exactly he is. He's a sovereign God. He's a forgiving God, and yes, he's a God to be feared and revered, but he's a God that will, he like he said, like he came here, Jesus, he brought his son. He came here to find that one that was shifted away from the 99.
Hmm.
So he's that type of God. He will literally move mountains just to make sure that one comes back to him out of
Yeah.
his flock of 99. He really cares about that one. So some people just don't understand that, and that's okay. Some people have their own ideologies of who God is and things of that nature, and they are unforgiving. But you have
Yeah.
to just pray and ask God to forgive them, because even if they are unforgiving of whatever you've done, and because I had a kid out of wedlock, so I was um, just like exiled really, in a way, from the community, but God said I'm his,
Yeah.
and I that has nothing to do with me. Like, if they choose to not forgive, um because every God has forgiven me, and I choose to walk with Jesus Christ every day, and he
Yeah.
walks with me every day. So that that's just like a little background on church and things of that nature. But yeah, from the violence that grew to believing that love is violence, or
Hmm.
love comes from violence.
Hmm.
So of course that rolled over to me being in relationships with domestic violence. or in domestic violence relationships, because I really thought that was love. Like I thought like men putting
Yeah.
their hands on means like they love me, you know. And that's why it's so important for fathers to set that example for their daughters, you know, to know like this is not the way, you know, you're supposed to do things. Daughters are supposed to be loved a little differently.
Yeah.
But my dad and I have a great relationship now. And I know that I never received an apology, but that's okay because his actions have proof that he's apologetic and he's
Yeah.
very involved in my life. He's very involved in my son's life. Sometimes we butt heads because we're really a lot alike.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I can say that God has mended our relationship because it took a while. It definitely took a while. I would go literally months, even sometimes like a year without
Hmm.
talking to him.
I can
We never
relate.
had that relationship. Yeah, we never had that relationship of calling me, texting me, nothing, you know. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't do that either because I always used to say, well, he's supposed to reach out to me. He's my parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But God had to heal me from that. Like, no, you can reach out to him too. You can say, you know, hey dad, how's your day going? You know,
Yeah.
um, you know, just building that bond. I've tried to have conversations with him. I'm not a very emotional person just because of the way I was raised. Um, so I would try to have those tough conversations to let him know how he hurt me.
Yeah.
Um, and he, you know, he didn't know a lot, like things I was going through, the relationships I had. He just thought everything was peachy and dandy.
Yeah.
And no, I've actually been through a lot of relationships that involve domestic violence,
Hmm.
and you know, um, and I owe that all to you. Like, and I would try to have those tough conversations with him, but it didn't go anywhere at
Yeah.
all. I would just shut down because I'm not a person who really expresses their emotions and things of that nature. But
Hmm.
um, I can say like our relationship has gotten a whole lot better, and I allude it all to God truly
Yeah.
because I've had to pray. I had to, you know, ask for healing, ask for that bond to be mended, and to ask for just a forgiving heart. Because
Hmm.
if we can't forgive, how can God forgive us for the things
Hmm.
that we have done? So I know that God is the only one that has helped me because if you even last year you couldn't tell me to have a conversation with my dad. You
Yeah.
know, I it was a lot. I could say it was definitely a lot.
Yeah.
But
No, thanks for sharing all that. That was a lot, and thank you for being vulnerable as well and sharing that. There are a lot of people out there that definitely can relate. I feel like, especially like urban Black culture, like especially like high school, college, like um, as you said, you think like the way we live or things we go through is normal, and it's almost like you hear about domestic violence, it's almost if it's normalized. Um, Especially in college, especially in urban cities, especially in the Black community. It's
yeah,
almost normalized. And a lot of people think that it is normal, and it's not. Um, and that it's not okay. And that definitely can um, impact how we view life, how we act, and how we receive from other people based on that. Um, and so, well, yes, first, thank you for sharing all that. And it's powerful that the growth just from not even knowing you, but just like hearing what you went through and then where you're at now is admirable.
thank you.
You mentioned um, the dad thing. I want to touch on that a little bit. I think it's important. A lot of men and women probably can relate to that. It's something that's definitely plaguing society. Um, and so you mentioned the forgiveness part. How was that process for you?
It was a long process, honestly, and it wasn't until I found God that I was able to really start that journey of forgiveness. I always say I found God because God was never lost. I was.
Yeah.
And it really has been a journey for me because, like I said, I went years just with an unhealed relationship with my father. I think Black culture, when they think of disciplining their kids, they think of, whoopings and things like that. I got beat with everything: hangers, rulers, belts,
Yeah.
extension cords, spatulas, you name it.
Switches.
I was getting beat. Okay. But that those items turned to also like, I would get hit in my face from him, open hands. I seen him black two of my sister's eyes, both
Yeah.
eyes. Um, so I would get beat with objects like suitcases and things. And he would always do it because of men. Like, growing up, he didn't want us to talk to any guys. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, guys would try to get at my sister and I, and he was just not having that. Like, it was just, no, it was a no go. But there's a certain way to do things.
Yeah.
And I think that the Black culture, we have to unlearn, what was handed down to us from slavery. That the beatings, those whoopings, those come from slavery. I think people forget that, you know. And we don't need to be beating our children like that. That's just
Yeah.
my there's a way to parent. There's a way to discipline your kids, and you don't
Yeah.
have to be excessive with that because there's a thin borderline between whoopings and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I can say my sister and I were definitely abused. Um, but that forgiveness in my heart had only came from God because I am supposed to forgive him, even if you don't get that apology, it's okay because it's for
Mm-hmm.
your own healing. To forgive is not for them, it's really for you.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to forgive because if I didn't, I was heading down a path of just bitterness. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to um, just be looked at in a way where I had a very hard heart. Like growing up, I would always say, I'm never getting married and I'm going to be a single mom, not understanding I was manifesting that. You can ask my family.
Yeah.
Like 7 years old, I was saying this. As a child, I would say, I want to be a single mom. I'm never doing this. I'm never doing that. Not
Yeah.
understanding the power of the words that I was speaking over my life. Because now I am a single mom. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. I
Yeah.
make it easy, but it's not easy. And
Yeah.
you should want a two-parent household. And I think that's what our culture also doesn't really realize. We need to be married before having kids. And I always tell females that in my life. I have a lot of female friends who are around the same age as me. And I always tell them, get married first.
Yeah.
Please don't have no kids out of wedlock because you're going to have to pay for certain things. Your life is not going to be as easy as it would. Now, am I saying that married life is easy? No, I'm not saying that at all. Because I know
Mm.
married people too that go through it. But for that structure and for that foundation to be there, I think that is very important. But the reason why I didn't look at it like that as a kid was because I had a dysfunctional foundation to
Mm-hmm.
really grow from. Um, but that forgiveness is key in your own growth, right?
Yeah.
Um, if I didn't forgive my dad, I would be bitter. You know, I would always say like F men or, I don't need no man and this and that. Like, no, you don't have to talk like that. Like, I'm in a different space now. So I don't say those things anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that it comes from God and, his healing power. Read his word. his scriptures, because he talks about forgiveness. If
Yeah.
we can't forgive, how can he forgive us? We're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven if we choose to be bitter, if we choose to not be forgiving. So knowing that alone, because I'm this is not my home. Earth is not my home. I understand that there's a home that I'm going to after this. So, in order to get into his kingdom and to see his kingdom, I have to do certain things. I have to
Mhm.
unlearn certain habits. And I can only do that by reading his word, by listening to what he has to tell me, because he talks, he speaks. God
Mhm.
is a living God in real life, whether people believe that or not. He's a living God. He created this whole universe. I used to worship the universe,
Mhm.
not understanding, because I had that much hatred in my heart
Let's talk
where
about it.
come on, where I blamed not only how I was raised and the family I was brought up into, but I blamed, the church for certain things. And that transpired into blaming God
Yep.
for, for everything, not realizing it was God that never hurt me. People hurt people all the time.
Let's talk about it.
God just wanted to love me. That's all he wanted to do. And it's so crazy because he never let me go
Mm.
throughout those whole years where I spent blaming him, spent just like unloving him and worshiping things that he created. I would always give thanks to the universe. Like, girl, who created the universe?
Yeah.
Who created this planet, these galaxies?
Yeah.
How dare I? You know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I really hit like rock bottom, okay, that
Mhm.
he was the rock at my bottom and he
Mhm.
lifted me up and he helped me understand and he helped me to forgive. So if you have those seeds of bitterness, those seeds of unforgiveness in your heart, you ask God to just reveal those. And because sometimes we feel like we even forgave people and God will show us you really haven't for real. So let me do more work in you, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and I've truly believed that God blessed me with my son in order for me to see that he is real, that he is love, that he loves me because um, I had there was a point in my life I had went so low where in my thoughts and my mental health, all of that, where I had nothing left but to depend on God. And I
Yep.
and I said to him, I said, if you're real, you got to show me because
Mm.
I had got to a point in my life where I did not believe he was real at all. Understand? Like I had
Mhm.
got to a point where I'm like, there's no way you could be real. And that from that very day, sorry, try not to, but from that very day when I asked him to just show himself to me and to reveal
Mhm.
himself to me, he began to. And I had three near death experiences in my life. I feel like the devil's been trying to take me out since a kid.
Mhm.
When I was born, um, I had no heartbeat, and they had to do some type of emergency procedure. My mom had a C-section, and they had to do some type of emergency procedure to get me to breathe and to get my heart at a because my heart rate was really low.
Yeah.
Um, and they prayed for me, and God, kept me through that. At the age of 17, I was involved in a bad car accident. I should have been dead. Even the paramedics, when they arrived, because I only walked away with a sprained ankle.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember that car accident because all I saw was light. And you know how they say your life flashes
Yeah.
for your eyes. That happened to me. It was like a huge light, but then everything that I had remembered from a childhood till that very moment, like all went through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a bizarre experience. And from afar, I could hear the ambulance, but I wasn't like it was an outer body experience
Yeah.
because I could hear things going on around me, but I was somewhere else.
Yeah.
And all I could see was light. I was 17. Fast forward back to 2021, I had another near death experience where I was hospitalized for 4 days. I had to have two blood transfusions. And before I made it to the hospital, because I was at work and I had this fever, I could not uh, get warm for whatever reason. I was just super duper cold. And it wasn't cold outside. I don't remember it being summer, but I remember it being like late summer, early fall.
Mm-hmm.
It was election season, and I used to work in news, and we were getting ready for a primary, I believe. So during election seasons, like I would have to work long hours, DC politics, all of
Yeah.
that there on it. Um, and I was scheduled to work a 14-hour shift that day, but I could not finish it because I was just so sick. I could not get warm. I had like a heater on. I had jackets and sweaters, and I genuinely didn't feel well. And I'm the type of person, I don't take medicine. I
Yeah.
believe in healing. Um, and it takes a lot for me to even take meds or it's, let alone go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So, after I told my boss, I'm like, I can't do this. I think I have to go to the hospital. And thank God, because I had my son at that time, and my mom was helping me out. She flew from Columbus to help me keep my son because in DC I had to pay for nannies, and that stuff got expensive because I don't
Yeah.
have a family out in DC. So a 14-hour day, I wasn't trying to pay a nanny that. So my mom had flew down to help me out with my son during this time. And thank God she did because I was in the hospital. And that near death experience was different than the one I had when I was 17 and had that car accident because
Mm-hmm.
during the car accident, the paramedics told my dad, he's like, they told him, we don't know how she's alive right now. That's how
Yeah.
bad that car accident was. A Ford F-150, I believe, those big trucks, had hit my little Honda Civic. It T-boned me. I did a 360 spin and hit the car behind me. My car was totaled. So the paramedics were just trying to understand how I even survived
Yeah.
something like that. Um, uh, and then this near death experience was completely different because I felt hell
Mm-hmm.
around. I was so hot that because like I couldn't get warm while I was at work, but when
Mm-hmm.
I went into my car, I had turned like the heat up so I could get warm. And it was like once I did that, I couldn't get unwarm.
Yeah.
Like I felt just heat everywhere. My mom took my temperature. It was 108 degrees.
Wow.
That is a deathly fever. I could have died.
Yeah.
So immediately after she took my temperature, I went to the hospital. I was there for 4 days and they gave me two blood transfusions during that time. I can't tell you why I was that sick. I think um, I have a theory, but the doctors didn't even really know what had happened
Mm-hmm.
to me. They're doing a bunch of x-rays and things like that, but they couldn't figure out. So that's why I stayed so long in the hospital because they were just trying to monitor
Yeah.
everything that was going on. And after I got out the hospital, I tell you, like the devil has really been fighting me since I was a little girl. I grew up, like I said, in a violent, uh, just an violent environment.
Yeah.
My taught us how to fight at a very young age because he just knew girls were going to be picking at us. being pretty small, um, we were, prone to be bullied. And so he taught us how to fight at a very young age. So I know it doesn't look like it, but I loved to fight. Oh my God.
Like Peter
Um,
the disciple.
literally crashing out in real life. Like, yeah, drop your love right now. I was one of them. Or I'm to your job. I was one of them in real life. Oh, thank you, God, for delivering me. But because even, I mean, I like literally just crashed out probably earlier this year, but that's it's just I can't keep doing that. So
Mhm.
um after I was released from the hospital, we flew back to Columbus. That was the plan, to fly back to Columbus with my mom and my son. And when I was in like the line, a lot of people don't think that my mother and I are related
Mhm.
because they see this fully Asian woman and they see me as fully Black. So a lot of people don't, think that that's my mom. So uh, we were at the airport and I'm following my mom to the line. You know how they line you up to get on the plane and to take your ticket or whatever, scan your phone for the ticket. So I'm following her, but there's this lady that she thought I cut her because, she's like, they can't be together. And she was a big woman, okay?
Yeah.
She's big. And I done fought some bigger women in my life. I have. But she was big. So she was so mad and she was pissed. Uh, so she said something to me because she was standing like really close to me, like behind me. And at that time, it was during COVID. So, like, there was a 6 feet, distance rule. She was not following those guidelines. And I just got out of the hospital literally like maybe all of 12 hours before this flight. So
Yeah.
I'm feeling well, I'm not feeling the best. But I knew this lady was threatening me. So her and I going back and forth in the airport. And she didn't care, and I didn't care either. She looking at me probably like this little girl, and I'm looking at her like, girl, I'm calculating in my head how I'm about to beat your tail in real life. In my head, I'm kicking your stomach first. I'm gonna climb on your back, and I'm just gonna claw out your whole face. Like I'm just calculating,
Yeah.
not realizing the enemy was just so mad I was still alive.
Yeah.
Now I know, he was so mad. So whatever spirit was driving her was so agitated at the fact
Mhm.
that I had just walked out this hospital, that
Mhm.
the devil had no power here.
Mhm.
He that I have a calling and a purpose on my life and that he couldn't take me out, and God kept me. So now I know that. But just thinking about it, I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, this lady. She just thinks that I cut her in line, not realizing that
Yeah.
we fight against principalities and spiritual beings that, we can't comprehend in our human form. We're not fighting people for real. I grew up my whole life fighting just different people, not realizing there's demonic forces that are driving them, that are influencing them to act this way. So that's why I had to stop crashing out when I figured that out. Like, God helped me figure that out. Like, you're not fighting people, you're
Yeah.
fighting demons in real life. So good thing I know how to fight because now I'm fighting for his kingdom. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm not fighting people no more. I'm fighting for his kingdom. So
Yeah. No, this is really good. You're saying a lot of gems here that I think a lot of people need to hear. Not just Black people, just people in general. You mentioned, um, just to backtrack a little bit, the dad with the forgiveness thing. You mentioned that you may not get the apology. And that's this one to everybody out there. You may not get that apology from the other person. I can relate. Erica here can clearly relate. Especially if you're dealing with something with another parent, whether dad or mother. Um,
right.
what I had to do was, um, forgive my dad, my stepdad and my biological dad. And I remember preparing for that conversation. My grandmother had told me that, like, hey, like, don't come in with expectations. You know, you
Mhm.
got to do it for
Mhm.
you. And I'm happy she said that because I got two different reactions from both dads. First
Mhm.
dad was not apologetic at all. Actually, he told me this stuff happened so long ago, I had to forget about it. And it took like every ounce of physical and spiritual strength in my body to not
Mhm.
crash out, to not hang up the phone, to not, get into like a curse and yelling match. Cause, at that point, I'm like 25, 26. I'm like, bro, like 25 years of trauma. You
Mhm.
mean just forget about it, right? Like what you did to my brother and my mom and me, like that's, and so, but I remember just, like I said, you get to the point where you just gotta rely, you just gotta trust God. Like, God, this don't even make sense. Why am I forgiving this person?
Mhm.
And I just remember, doing it and like all that weight just
Yeah.
disappeared. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like and like I said, you mentioned it. Like you might butt heads sometimes, and like for me and my dad, we're not buddy, we're not
Yeah.
best friends or anything like that. But when I do get a text from him or a call from him, I'm not triggered. I
Right.
don't I don't get angry. I'm like, oh, what does this dude want now? Or that stuff happens. I'm not trapped in that
Mhm.
spiritual tomb. Now other times I do get triggered. Sometimes, if I'm watching like a movie or a
Right.
TV show, there's like a father son scene that kind of reminds me. And sometimes I'll get triggered. But even in those moments, I just got to keep forgiving. Right. I
Yeah.
think there's a podcast I was watching. This lady was talking about we got to really wring our heart out and ask for God to work on us to the point where we can sit down like face to face with a person and feel nothing from our past.
Mhm.
And so I'm on that journey. But it's that the one scene like from Fresh Prince of Bel Air where Will was talking to Uncle Phil and like his dad leaves and he's like, why he don't want me? Like that scene always gives me.
Yeah.
But um, stuff like that, but my biological dad, he was in prison still when I met him for the first time, where I wrote from the first time, and complete different reactions, completely apologetic, told me he loved me, told me he was proud of me. Like, those are
Mhm.
words I didn't hear growing up, right?
Right.
And so, well, from my dad growing up, and so it was a completely different reaction, and I wasn't really expecting it, but I think me not expecting it made it impact me so much more. And so, um, I'm glad you shared that, and you talked about, especially like beatings or like mindsets, and then you bring in like the spiritual aspect to it. There's a lot of generational curses in families. A lot of
Mhm.
families had kids out of wedlock or were single parents or just very dysfunctional homes, or especially in like lower income areas and cities and things like that. A lot of people just don't know how to parent. A lot of people never taught how to parent or had kids very, very young. And so they're just doing the best they can, right? And so,
Yeah.
not to say they're free from, excuses, but they just don't know. And so they kind of like pass on. That's why a lot of times firstborns are usually the hardest in terms of getting the brunt force of parents.
Yeah.
And so, because they don't know what they're doing, they're just kind of freestyling and just kind of, they may not have mentors, they may not have coaches or a family member or a role model. And we just keep
Yeah.
passing on that,
Mhm.
that mentality, those teachings, those habits, whether they're good or negative. And and then you talked about,
I
because I
think
really
that's
want to go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that's important to note what you just said. They don't they don't know.
Hmm.
I I never met my dad's dad, my grandfather. My dad had met his dad one time.
Yeah,
My dad was a grown man crying out for his dad.
yeah,
He was in his 40s crying because he never got that love from his dad. So I could not keep blaming him because now that I'm an adult and I'm a parent myself, he was just a kid himself trying to
yeah.
raise me and my sister. So not having that father figure in his life for X amount of years, I mean, he still doesn't know his dad. I don't even know if his dad is living.
Hmm.
I don't know. The last thing I heard about his dad was that he burnt down an apartment complex because his neighbors were playing music too loud. They, so they incarcerated him.
Yeah.
That's the type of family I come from.
Hmm.
I can't blame him for being the type of parent he was because he didn't have an example of a
Yeah.
father. So I think that's important to note, like what you said. Some of them, they just don't know. And no, it's not an excuse
Yeah.
because me, I'm a mom and I've used my experiences to become a better parent. But that's all about that breaking those generational curses, you know? So I think that's important to note for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because and then my biological dad, he's been in prison his whole life, right? So I remember the first time I found out that he was my biological father, I'm like, great, like another deadbeat, absent dad doing not what he's supposed to be doing. But I remember when I met him and I sat down with him, I was like, just tell me about what was it like growing up? Like, tell me about your experiences. And he's been on his own since like 13, right? Like he came from a very abusive household. His dad locked him up in the basement, would just like beat him and things like that. And he had a
Mhm.
breaking point where he said enough is enough. I think he said he got a gun and held it to his head. Is like, if you ever touch me again, I'm gonna unalive you. And from then he left, right? His mom, which would be my grandmother, she grew up picking cotton, right? She was an indentured servant, which is pretty much modern day slavery. She had no education. She didn't know what she was doing, and she just marrying whoever just to keep financially stable. And so, not to blame her either, but um, there was just a lot going on. And ever since and he lived in a very impoverished neighborhood as well. So, what's the first thing a young person is going to do? Go to the streets, drug dealing,
Right.
things like that, and
Mhm.
and so that was his upbringing, right? And so like I'm like, oh, that is rough, right? That is rough, and especially in that side of the family. Um, I'll talk about that in a second. Outside of the family, too, my brother, who I just met for the first time, um, I was the only one who's ever going to college. So when I visited them, they think I'm like a millionaire, multi-millionaire. They never. So I'm picturing, imagining him growing up. He doesn't even know what like
Mhm.
success looks like. He doesn't know
Right.
anything outside of this community, right? Like
Right.
all my family is incarcerated or part of a gang or dealing
Mhm.
drugs. Like they don't know what to own a business or to go to college or to have a 9 to 5 or like a corporate job, like or they don't know anything outside of that culture. And
Right.
so I think sometimes that it helps us separate the emotional tie to it as much as possible and just think logically, okay, this makes more
Mhm.
sense now why this person act like I'm not as mad now. I understand. And I saying I fully agree or not giving you a pass, but I understand it
Mhm.
now. And I can
Exactly.
see why you do certain things. And
Yeah.
I think that allows when you take your own emotion out of it, I think that allows the Holy Spirit to come fill you up. Right.
And it,
I think sometimes when we lean on our own understanding, we
right.
crash out. And
That's why
so
he tells us that lean not onto our own. We have
yeah.
to look at everything from God's perspective. So
Yeah.
I'm
And then you
happy.
talked about my fault. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna say I'm happy that you God helped you realize that. That's all.
Yeah. And I had that rock bottom experience. And I'm just like, I gotta forgive because all my anger in my life is coming down to this father wound. And if I don't
Mhm.
fix it, I'm gonna I'm on this crash course. And so you talked about the near death experiences. Um, and I'm glad you said this. You talked about like they're all pretty much like just attacks from the enemy. And I think a lot of people need to hear that and understand that
Mhm.
because when you start getting promoted in your life, not from the world, but from God, you get a platform, you get success, you get money, you get business deals, jobs, whatever it is,
Mhm.
especially when you've been through stuff, you have a testimony. And Satan is going to try to rob that testimony. He's going to try and get you, especially in today's world where cancel culture is really popular and
Mhm.
one TikTok can change your entire life.
Mhm.
Um, you not a lot of times people use TikTok to get like racist people out of there and things like that. But I think we forget who we are as Christians. And that's one of the things I don't agree with. That because a lot of these people they've built things for their families, right?
Mhm.
And so now if you get someone fired from their job or they have to leave their business, well, now it's not just them suffering; it's the entire family that they're taking care of. And
Right.
we can offer them grace. Not saying that they shouldn't face discipline and things like that, because God will definitely discipline us. He does not discipline us. That's where grace and mercy come into play. But we don't have
Mhm.
to ruin someone's life for the rest of their life living on earth. And
Right.
um and so going back, don't allow Satan to steal your testimony
Right.
by
Yeah.
getting you super angry, acting out, super
Mhm.
sad, making a mistake. Because, like I said, one TikTok, one Instagram reel is all it takes.
Nonsense.
Um, and it doesn't even have to be anger. It could be, what was that new trend now? I think that CEO or somebody was caught having an affair, like at it was like a band. It was I think it was a Coldplay concert, and they put him
Oh
like on the
yeah.
kiss cam,
Oh yeah.
like stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like, don't Satan will throw things your way when you
Yeah.
start getting elevated in life to steal, to steal your testimony, to steal your success. And so we just have to be. It's not necessarily people; it could just be, Satan using people to get us to act out of character. I always say this: like, spirits know spirits. So your spirit will bother other people's spirit, and they may not like that. And that's why sometimes when you walk into a room and you just feel it like uneasy, or people just be mean to you for no reason, your spirit is just bothering them. So I'm glad you brought in that spiritual aspect of your near death experiences, because Satan will if he can't get to you directly, he's going to try to get you indirectly. I can attest to that. Other people can attest to that. Um,
I'm gonna
you can attest
try,
to that.
but he will never succeed. He can try, but he will not succeed. He
Yeah.
will. And I've been experiencing people um, doing that my whole life for real, and I never understood why, but now I do.
Hmm.
Because, like I said, even in my ignorance, even in my carnality, when I wasn't walking with God, He had His hand on my life, and He never let me go.
Hmm.
So
Amen.
people could see it, even if you can't see it. People will know
Yeah.
because the spirits that they are agreeing with, they can see it, and they're the ones that are really upset. They're the ones that are really envious because they want that light. Why do you think Satan wanted to be God himself?
Yeah.
Like, he wanted that. He was jealous of that. He was envious of
Hmm.
that. But you can't be God. Like, come on now. Come on. He's just dumb. Like, he's so dumb.
Yeah. And that's why you just gotta that's why I tell people, like, when you get your spiritual health right, like all your financial,
Hmm.
emotional, mental, physical, social, whatever it is, all this will take care of itself. But you gotta get this right first.
Yep.
Life is gonna
God.
life. Life is always gonna life, whether in a season of blessings or a season of trials and tribulations from the world. Like, as long as this is steadfast,
Hmm.
and strong, you're
Hmm.
gonna bounce back so much more faster, and you won't be moved as much.
Hmm.
Um, and I just hope people really take this spiritual aspect so much more serious.
Absolutely.
Um, it just
Absolutely.
makes more life not only more peaceful but just more manageable.
Absolutely.
I've recently saw that, well, not recently, but I saw on your Instagram or of your social media that you got baptized.
Yeah.
Um, what was what was that turning point that wanted you to make that decision?
I just felt God kept tugging at my heart. Because when I moved back to Columbus, um, I went to church with my sister. Um, and my sister, she had to do her own healing journey. And, she had those tough conversations with my dad even before I did. So she uh, she was like my example, honestly.
Hmm.
She invited me out to her church one Sunday, and this lady, I recognized her because she had came to I work in the radio here in Columbus, and she had came for an interview maybe like a week before, and I saw her at my sister's church, and
Hmm.
service had ended, and I was like, hey, like, I don't know if you remember me, but I was from the radio, da da da. And she was like, stay right here. She was like, yeah, I'm about to talk to you. Like, just stay right here. So I'm like, okay. She was like, don't leave before I talk to you. I said, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna leave. And I'm really thinking she about to talk radio. I'm thinking she about to talk about her business because she does like double dutch. Like she has her own double dutch group
Mm-hmm.
for people in Columbus to join. So I'm thinking she's about to talk to me about that. Oh no, baby, I was so wrong because I saw her tending to a soul. She was praying for someone, and I'm waiting. And I just knew we was about to talk about radio and double dutch. She
Yeah.
came up to me. She came over to me and she was like, "Yeah, you just moved back, right?" I have not told this lady nothing.
Mm.
Okay? I don't know this lady. I saw her in passing from the radio, but I didn't tell her anything. I'm like, well, maybe my sister told you I moved back or something. I don't know this lady. This lady is older. Like she was like she got to be in her 60s or 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be considered, a mother of the church,
Yeah.
basically. So she was like, yeah, you just moved back, didn't you? I said, yeah. And she was like, yeah, welcome home.
Mm.
And she kept saying that to me. And I just began to cry. She began to minister to me, saying things that I know only came from God.
Yeah.
Just certain things she was saying. Like I have them in my notes actually, because I take a lot of notes. Welcome home. God doesn't blame me. Sorry, I'm gonna try to get through this without crying.
Well, take your time.
He took on all of my guilt and pain. God knows all the hurt and betrayal I've been through with my family, friends, and men, and He has healed me. Some things that occurred were not my fault, and He knows it. And God wants to create a home for him, like He created a home for me. Jesus wants me to surrender my life to Him completely. He has healed all my pain, even the pain I don't speak on. She just saying, like, I'm on the floor at this point. I couldn't even stand anymore. And I'm just on the floor crying because she just saying all these things. And I know that it didn't come from nowhere but God. So
Mm-hmm.
He's speaking uh, through her to me. Um, say He has healed all of my pain, even the pain I don't speak on. He has healed all of my thoughts, even my decision processes. Because He know I'm a crash out. Like I talk to Him all the time. Like He know. Like He just know. Okay. He know. Um, but He's healed my thoughts. Because some of my thoughts were like very dark. I went through a phase in my life where I was also suicidal, and He's kept me from doing that. Like I should be in hell right now,
Yeah.
but God has kept me. Um, He guides me in life through and through. The imprints on my heart, she started touching my heart, and she like started touching on my like chest. And because of certain traumas I've been through, I don't like people touching me.
Yeah.
But her like when she did it, like I just felt like a sense of release. Like it was just so weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was pressing on my heart, like the imprints on my heart are all washed away. All Jesus wants is my heart. That's what she kept saying. All Jesus wants to do is heal my heart. Sorry. And then He has never stopped loving me. He has never taken His hand off my life. He has and always will be with me, and I with Him. And from that day, that was September 22nd, 2004. So from that,
2024.
2024, September. So it'll almost be a year in September. So ever since that service, like I just felt God tugging at me and telling me just to surrender my life to Him. And it's been a journey, but I've quit smoking. Like that was something I struggled with. I've been
Mm-hmm.
smoking since I was 16. I quit smoking. Drinking was never like an issue for me. I don't like alcohol.
Yeah.
But my thing was smoking. Like smoking was my release, like my
Yeah.
something I depended on, not realizing I was a slave to it. Why I gotta
Mm-hmm.
wake up every day, light a blunt, roll up a blunt. I gotta wake up before I do anything. I gotta smoke. Before I eat, I gotta smoke.
Yeah.
Uh, just to keep me sane around my kid, I had to smoke, and God helped me realize that all I need is Him. Um, because I would challenge people too. They would always say like, smoking ain't good. I'm like, it don't say that in the Bible. It say everything about drinking, but it don't say nothing about smoking. God's plan on in the Bible.
Yeah.
It didn't have to
Yeah.
because really he I he made it like disgusting for me to even do it. Like,
Yeah. And that's one thing that a lot of people, they don't realize when it comes to like smoking or drinking or stuff like that.
mhm,
If it gets to the point where you're idolizing it or you can't operate it without it, then
mhm,
that's your master. And
exactly.
that's what a lot of people, that's what it comes down to, right? Because I get that question all the time with Malik, because, it's, people, it's really rare you come across someone who's sober this young, especially if I'm out. And they're like, well, is it okay for me to drink or things like that? I'm like, no, like you're fine. But if you got to realize what's the motivation behind it. And also, is it a vice? Is it controlling you? If
Yeah,
is your whole spiritual, mental, emotional persona changing? If that is the case, right? It's the same thing with playing like video games, Call of Duty, or watching TV or violence or stuff like that. Everyone, you don't have to necessarily alter all your life, but if it's getting to the point where there's things that you consume are changing you or you can't operate without it, then that's something that you need to address. So,
absolutely. And God help me with that. Like, it hasn't been a long time since I've been sober, but I've been keeping in my notes too how long I've been sober. Because I would smoke 3, 4, 5 blunts a day.
mm-hmm.
And it was controlling me for
You have an app
sure.
for it?
Huh?
You have an app for it? Or you just manually looking at it?
No, I'm just manually my
Oh,
notes.
just get an app. So when you get your 12 months, 6 months, take a little screenshot, post that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just been adding it daily.
Yeah.
But I will
That's,
say ever since that day,
yeah.
I felt like God was really calling me to surrender my life
Yeah.
over to him. And I did get baptized at a younger age. I was like 7 when I was first baptized.
Mm-hmm.
But I have felt like I had to rededicate my life to him. If
Yeah.
that means that I know that the Bible says only one baptism and things like that, but I didn't feel like God was telling me no, that I
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing this. I just needed that rededication back to him because I felt like at 7 years old, I didn't completely comprehend
Yeah.
men. And I also felt, I wouldn't say pressured to do it, but in a sense,
Yeah.
pressured by man to do something that I didn't really fully comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And now being the Asian I am, and I'm not revealing that because I'm polite to ask a lady how old she is. But um, now that, okay, I'm gonna just say I'm 31. So now being 31 and just rededicating my life back to him, like I feel completely different.
Yeah.
Where I felt the need to be rebaptized and really mean it this time and really walk with him this time and really like just surrender
Yeah.
to him. Now, like me surrendering my life to him, I don't really worry like I used to. I don't have anxiety. I'm not depressed anymore. He gives you internal peace in real life. Like I'm going through several storms right now, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you not crashing out. I can't believe you're not going crazy." It's only Jesus who's keeping me sane. It's
Yeah.
literally he gives you that internal peace. He gives you that joy. He really talks with me and walks with me. I was someone that never wanted to read the Bible because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand thy, thou, all that type of stuff. I was never the one. Um, but he's just been helping me understand more and more when I read his word. Now I'm like addicted to reading the Bible. I can't tell you certain passages and where it all says that. Like, how some
Mm-hmm.
people be like, oh, it says
Yeah.
in Luke and Mark. I'm not doing all that. I just know somewhere it say
Yeah.
this. I just know somewhere it say, you're supposed to forgive
Yeah.
because you don't forgive, how is your heavenly Father supposed to forgive you? And
Yeah.
I've committed several atrocities, fornication, uh, ideology, worshiping other things besides who is our true living God. Um, you know, um, I've just sinned a lot. I've sinned so much in my life that where I'm like, okay, I've done so much in my life to the point where I really do owe it all to you. Like I would look for loyalty in other people. I have it tatted on me like loyalty over love because that's something I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe in. But with God, I can have both. I can have both love. I can have both loyalty. You mean to tell me I can love you as much as I give my all to you and I get that back? I've been in so many relationships where I've given my all to people and it wasn't reciprocated. You mean to tell me I can really give you all of me and you give me all of you back? Oh, baby,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm riding. Yeah, like I would always ride and die for wrong people. Now it's different. Like I choose to ride and die for someone who really rode and died for me. It was so funny. This one time earlier this year, uh, I was like worshiping, and I start my mornings with meditation and just
Mm-hmm.
worship. When I say meditate, I mean meditating on His Word,
Yeah.
because I used to do like meditate and just
Yeah.
out
Christian
on my
meditation. Yeah.
yeah. So now I do Christian meditation, where I'm reading His Word and I'm staying still so He can speak to me. Um, and this one morning, I'm eating breakfast and I had just got done, worshiping him and I'm just sitting in silence. My son was still asleep. And I began to play some like music and God had literally changed my whole entire playlist. Like I don't let this face fool you. Like all I listened to was trap music and
Yeah.
realized all rap all day. I didn't like R&B. I'm not listening to no SZA. I'm not listening to no Walker for real. Like turn on D
Yeah.
Baby, turn on Zillionaire Dope. Like that's my type of music. Um, and God literally changed my whole playlist, my
Yeah.
entire playlist. Literally, like I don't listen to any of that stuff anymore because the things that they're talking about killing
Yeah.
people. They're talking about sex, smoking, drink, just all of that, just stuff that we don't need to be doing as followers of Christ. So when I was uh, playing the music, uh, the song had started to play, and it was like literally, I have trap gospel,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
like it's just different artists that I would listen to. So there's a trap gospel song going, so I'm vibing to it. But I'm like, Lord, I just want to worship you. Like I don't want to listen to this right now. He was like, I thought you liked this type of music. He's like, I thought you liked this. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to worship you right now. I just want to love on you. Like I want to
Yeah.
be a little intimate with you. So I changed the next song and immediately a worship song's come on. And he says to me, he's like, I'm the real definition of ride or die. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I started laughing because I'm like, that's so crazy because you really are.
Mm.
You're the only one that really rode and died for me. I
Yeah.
haven't had nobody die for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can talk about it, but he's the only one that really carried that cross,
Yeah.
went up on that cross, and was an innocent man that whole time and died for all of our sins so that we may live with him and enter into his kingdom. And that's a real definition of a ride or die. And when he said that to me, I just started laughing. I'm like, that's so crazy because you really are. Because
Yeah.
like I've always talked about being a ride or die, being a ride or die.
Yeah.
Like Jesus is the only one, the real ride or die, like
Yeah.
truly.
Now you mentioned the woman in the church. And I feel like that's just so powerful. God, so just for anyone there, like listening, like you're going to encounter people, strangers, friends or family that just hits you with a comment or a conversation that just seems way out of the blue. Like, just encourage you, like, really like tune in. Like, God doesn't send certain people your way for no reason.
That's
There's certain, especially strangers.
mhm,
Um, and it just takes one conversation to really change your life. That was something for me. You talked about rededicating. That was me. I grew up in the church. Um,
mhm,
really liked my church growing up. We had a really good youth kids program. Um,
mhm.
and so, but college happens, and this is like before um, where like a lot of churches really streaming. And so, college, you don't have a way to really connect into your home church. So you just have the churches that are around you. And I'm in the middle of
Right.
Pennsylvania, I'm very rural. So I don't really vibe with the churches there.
Mhm.
So I didn't go to church, right? I was reading the Bible, but you just kind of forget to read the Bible and not really
Mhm.
putting God first. And so, life happened. I won't talk about my story because I don't want to rob from yours, but I hit that rock bottom.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a moment where I was like, God, like, I know you're real when what you've
Mhm.
done with my life so far, bringing me to where I'm at. This little black boy from South Dakota who's now at Penn State. Like, you've done a
You're from
lot. Yeah, from South Dakota. I'm actually in South Dakota right now. My
I didn't.
grandparents' house. Yeah, so those are watching, there are black people from South Dakota. Um, but I grew up in Baltimore. um, but
Okay, that's where I know. Like,
yeah,
for-
yeah, I'm in Baltimore since second grade all the way through college.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, just from where I was at to a big school like that, and what how he saved my mom for her near death car accident. I'm like, I know you're real. But I'm like, I just feel like you're just not with me right now. And I remember
Mhm.
there was like a garden behind or like a park behind the house, and I would just go up there in the middle of the night and just cry. Like I would just
Yeah.
cry and yell and
Mhm.
scream. Like God, like
Mhm.
this ain't no sense. I got like a below 1.0 GPA, below 2.0 GPA. I might get expelled. I'm on academic probation. I'm kicked out of my major. I'm in a very abusive relationship. Uh,
Mhm.
like everything I've been working so hard to get is disappearing. Um, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just,
Right.
and I'm alcoholic. Like everything is just spiraling. I was
Mhm.
like, I was like, God, if you don't fix this right now, like I'm walking away from you. And
Mhm.
I remember I said that out loud. And
Mhm.
it was like in that moment like God just fast forwarded everything. Like, I won't get all into it, but
Yeah.
when I moved to Houston, I had an internship in Houston,
Mhm.
and I was like, what, this would be good for me. I have no friends here, no family here, just fresh start for the summer. And
Mhm.
I drove past a church, really, really big church, and where I currently live now and currently serve because of this experience. But I remember I drove by. We don't have large churches up north, and so I always wanted to go to a large church because my grandma always would watch it online. And so
Mhm.
it's always something I wanted to do like on my bucket list. And
Mhm.
so I was like, I'm not, me and you aren't cool right now, but I'm gonna go just to cross off my bucket list. But I remember in that service, I was up there. I came late because I already know how churches operate. Oh, you're first guest, like come sit first row. I was like, nah, I'm coming late. I'm gonna sit in the nosebleeds. It's a big church. Like I'm gonna be up, I'm way up top. And I just remember the pastor that day. He was like, God writes your life from finish to start, so you can live your life from start to finish. Just
Yeah.
like give a year of your life to God, and I promise it'll be for the better. I was like, all right, well, God, well, I'm here for about 10 more weeks.
Mhm.
I'll give you another chance. And long story short, in 10 weeks, I got baptized, rededicated my
Amen.
life, and went back to school. And kind of like you made a decision to stop smoking. I remember I had a big drinking problem, and something else happened. I had alcohol poisoning before, but this time it was something else had happened. I'm like, okay, just lower my tolerance isn't good enough. I have to go sober. And I
Yeah.
never knew if I had the strength to do it or if I can do it. I'm young, I'm still in college, about to graduate. Like, this is a really hard thing to do. And
Mhm.
then you got peer pressure. Everyone's like, oh, you're so young, like, live a little, things like that. And I remember the day after I graduated, you know, it wasn't a car accident, but like my life flashed before my eyes when I graduated. I saw my mom when I graduated. I was like, I could be dead. I could be in prison. I was doing some illegal things. I could be in prison. I remember just flashing forward the day I had alcohol poisoning. I was like, just all the things in my life. Because I
Mhm.
wasn't really emotional during graduation. It was about I saw my mom; she was crying. I was like, yeah, I could not even be hugging you right now. And
Yeah.
and then I remember that night I partied. I partied real hard. I even got
Same.
like my brother and my cousin. They were 21. I got them into the club. Like, that's how deep I was in the club life at my school. But I remember my brother had to drive me back to Maryland. That's how
Mhm.
hungover I was. And so because we were going with my grandparents to DC, like they tore them to DC, and I remember that when I woke up that morning, the Holy Spirit was like, "Today's the day," and I
Mhm.
stopped drinking. I didn't have any
Yeah.
withdrawal symptoms. I didn't have to go to like
I,
recovery clinic or anything like that. And when people say like, like how bad were you? I was alcoholic. I was spending hundreds of thousands a week on alcohol. My tolerance, I can probably drink like 20 to 30 drinks a night. Like yeah, I was a functioning alcoholic. Um,
yeah.
and the reason why I made a decision to go sober was that summer I was in Houston. I was lowering my tolerance. I was only drinking like 2 drinks a night if I did
Mhm.
go out. Um,
Mhm.
because I'm gonna stick to it. And then when I got back to school, my birthday's in the summer, so my friends went in to celebrate that first week of college that semester. And I had like 25 to 30 drinks that night. And the only reason why I know is because I had 20 shots. I had 10 shots at the first club, 10 shots at the second club, and then mixed drinks in between. But I drove all my friends home, my girlfriend at the time home, and myself home. And
Mhm.
remember, I sat on the bed. I'm like, I'm not even hungover. I'm not even lit. Like, this is a problem. I just spent 10 months or 10 weeks not drinking really, and I can do this fresh. Like, this is, that's why I made the decision I had to go sober. But I didn't know how to do it, or when I would do it. But, at that graduation, it was like the
Mhm.
spirit just kind of came on me. It was like, today's the day. And so I'm
And
glad you're being transparent because some people, they just need to know, like, just
mhm.
one moment of God's touch, the spirit's touch, just change
And
everything. And
yeah.
so I want to shift here
Okay.
to your son. And
Yes.
so, can you share what that journey was like raising a son on the spectrum?
Sure. Um, so when I first had him, everything was cool. He used to have like difficulty sleeping and things of that nature, but I never realized anything was really off or, anything different. He was reaching his milestones, and then around 15 to 18 months, he began to regress. So I started questioning things because he wasn't saying mama or dada anymore. He was banging his head like we could be anywhere. And he's banging his head on concrete. He's
Yeah,
doing things that are abnormal. So I took him to the physician. And he was 18 months. I took him to the physician because I was trying to see, what was going on. His daycare teacher at the time, and then my cousin, they they asked me if I thought he was autistic, and I didn't know what autism was,
yeah,
honestly. I didn't fully understand anything about autism. So I began to do research, and that research, like, he was showing so many symptoms. So I took him to the physician. She told me he was too young to be diagnosed and
yeah,
to wait a year. So I did. I waited a year, but during that time, I put him in speech therapy, OT therapy, which is occupational therapy. Uh, but I took him back when he was uh, 3. He was diagnosed at 3 years old. They diagnosed him level 3. My son was nonverbal for a while. He could only say maybe a few words, but for majority, he was nonverbal. Um, and I just remember one night, my child's father and I were still together, and at the time, and he was like in the living room, and we were preparing for um, the doctor's appointment for his evaluation. And I just remember holding my son. My son was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't walking with God at this time, but I knew because of my upbringing, I knew how to pray. And I was praying, and for some reason, I did not say anything along the lines like, Lord, please let him not be autistic, or Lord, please just, let the diagnosis be a negative or anything. I didn't pray that prayer.
Yeah.
I just remember praying, Lord, prepare me, equip me to be the mother of
Mm.
an autistic child. Because in my heart, I knew that he was autistic. After praying that prayer, I felt an immediate sense of peace. That was one thing about God. Like when I say he never kept his or took his hand off of my life, like anytime I would pray, which was few and far in between, um, he would just immediately give me peace after that. So why I didn't take that as a sign earlier on, I don't know, but I was still living in sin. I wanted to do things my way. And I think that is also something that we have to understand. We're not here to live our life. We're not
Yeah.
here to do things that we want to do. It's all for him. And he gonna get it. He gonna have his plan go through one way or the other. He gonna get your attention one way or
Yeah.
the other. And he got mine. So now I don't even pray anything that I want to do. It's what do you need from me? Your will be done in real
Yeah.
life. So my prayers have completely changed. Um, but yeah, so I prayed that prayer, got an immediate sense of peace. The next day, he was diagnosed level 3, which is the most severe. Um, and immediately, we put him into ABA therapy. ABA is, I truly believe, helpful for autistic children. When I put him in ABA, I noticed a complete difference, change. Of course, I was still praying for him. And God really just helped me really be that mother of an autistic kid. Something that I really struggled with was his meltdowns, because he would
Yeah.
have meltdowns like literally in the middle of everywhere. We would be out and about. The airport didn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
store didn't matter, amusement park it didn't matter. And what I struggled with was the people
Mm.
staring and looking at my son like he's crazy. So I would
Yeah.
look at them like they're crazy. Like, do you want to do something? Like,
Yeah.
I remember this one lady, she pissed me off so clean. Like, we were at the airport waiting for our plane, our flight. And while we're waiting, we're eating, and it was just my son and I, because I traveled with my son a lot. Like my son had been on an airplane since he was literally a month old, 4 weeks old. As soon as he was 4 weeks, we out.
Yeah.
Um, when I did that, we were eating, and he was having like a little meltdown. It was like a mild meltdown to me, but to this lady,
Yeah.
it she's looking at me like, get your son. I'm looking at her like, come get me. Do you do something about it? Like,
Yeah.
cause what are you looking at? I'm like, I'm getting to the point where, do I need to start wearing a t-shirt that says, do not stare, please do not stare, my son is
Yeah.
autistic? That's how bad it was. Cause I was ready to fight everybody. Like, told you, firecracker, little crash out. So, but she didn't want that. Because I'm looking at her like, does she need that? And she didn't want that. She started smiling, like, then stop looking. Like, it was the
Yeah.
adults that really, the kids, like, I can understand, because kids would stare at him too, like, oh my God, but they're kids. It
Yeah.
was the adults that pissed me off.
Yeah.
So the Lord had to really help me with that. And he also helped calm my son down with just my son doesn't really have meltdowns anymore. If he does, he'll get some space, and he'll, regulate his emotions that way. We use breathing techniques. So if he is about to have a meltdown, we say breathe, like breathe in, breathe
Yeah.
out, breathe in, breathe out. Um, so it was a real journey for me, especially because my son couldn't talk. That was something that I kept praying and asking God
Yeah.
to, with his speech, his language, help his tongue to just talk. And the Lord answered, my prayers, and I'm still praying because now he's 5 and he can talk in complete sentences now. His sentences might be choppy, but
Yeah.
it's something that is just unheard of, you
Hmm.
know. Um, it's something like I consider it a miracle in my
Yeah.
life, in his life, because I've seen his growth of how he was nonverbal to maybe 75% nonverbal to 50% nonverbal to now he's talking, because he used to have one of those screens like nonverbal autistic kids have. They have pads
Yeah.
that they communicate through. He used to have one of those. And for some reason, I couldn't even utilize it because he didn't want to, he didn't want that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I know, Lord, that you will do this. And he did. He did. He did, and he's still doing it. So
Yeah.
it's something that I look at as a miracle and that God has performed in our lives. My son just had an evaluation 2 weeks ago because he's about to begin ABA therapy again. Because during our move, he was an ABA, but I had to find
Yeah.
an ABA provider because of our move. So he had an evaluation 2 weeks ago. It's another testimony. The doctor diagnosed him level 1
Mm.
um, autism when it comes to his speech. And I just thought that was like amazing.
Yeah.
Because my son was really nonverbal.
Yeah.
Like he could not talk. He would just scream. My son would scream. That's all he would do. That's how he could communicate. That's all he knew how to do uh, to communicate was to scream. And he'd be screaming his little head off.
Yeah.
But the doctor diagnosed him level 1 and then level 2 as far as um, a repetitiveness and like things that he does um, in regards to just him being on the spectrum. But
Yeah.
I mean, I it was something definitely to give God thanks and praise for, which I did because I've just seen how he's brought my son through,
Yeah.
just how he's kept his hand on my son.
Yeah.
Um, so it's still a journey because it's
Yeah.
not easy raising neurodivergent kids. It's really not. So my heart goes out to anyone that is raising a neurodivergent kid. And if they are nonverbal, I know how that feels, but just trust
Yeah.
and believe because all we need is the faith the size of a mustard seed. Literally, if you Google what a mustard seed is,
Yeah.
that thing is so small. So you mean to tell me that's all I have to do is
Yeah.
believe that much and it'll be done? It'll be done.
Yeah.
Like literally, if we have faith, we trust God, we want something. He said he'll give us the desires of our hearts if we have faith in him. I don't know where it say that, but it say that. Okay, I just
Yeah.
read it. I think it says in Matthew or something somewhere.
No,
Just
that's
Google.
funny.
Just
But
Google.
you you're saying it so much right now. I was gonna ask you how was your faith helping you with this, but you kind of touched on that. You said two things that are really important. The first, you said when you were praying before your son's appointment, you were praying for strength to be equipped and how to be a better mother. I think we see that with Jesus um, in the Garden of Gethsemane when after he prays, God sends angels to strengthen him before the next steps to crucifixion. And I think sometimes as people, we kind of want God sometimes to take away the storm or take away the
Mhm.
trials and tribulations instead of asking God to be with us in the storm, because
Absolutely.
I feel like our faith isn't strong enough, right? Because if we want the storm to be removed, then it's like, okay, we don't believe God it can bring us through the storm, or the storm is more powerful than God. So I think, or a lesson or a trial and tribulation, whatever it is, I think that's important that you mentioned that. Um,
He said that no weapons formed against us shall prosper. He didn't
yeah.
say the weapons wouldn't form. He just
Hmm.
said they prosper.
Amen.
So they're going to come, but
Yeah.
that's okay because that's when faith steps in. It
Absolutely.
just said it's not going to prosper, so it doesn't have any power over us.
Yeah.
The devil has no power. Why do you think he has minions to do his evil work?
Yeah.
He has no say so. So me knowing that, he didn't say that the weapons would not form. They're just not supposed to prosper. They're not going to prosper
Yeah.
when you have faith in Jesus.
Amen. The other part you said was, I think, really important here. Not just dealing with people who or kids who are on the spectrum, but I think it's just all people that don't look like us or don't act like us. You said that you had a struggle with growing up, or not growing up, but dealing with um, your kid when he was young with people staring.
Yeah.
And it made me think of a time where I don't know why I got emotional when you were saying that, but I've grown fond of of all forms of not mental health, like spectrums and things like that. Because there's a time where there's a dude at my church, a young man who got into a little bit of trouble. I want to get into the details, but he was under the spotlight basically. And
Mm-hmm.
so they was asking someone to mentor him. And so I said, sure, I'll mentor him, no problem. Not knowing what he looked like. So
Mm-hmm.
we got Starbucks one day after church,
Mm-hmm.
right next to the church, and he
Mm-hmm.
dressed like a gothic person, like real
Okay.
thin, skinny tank top, piercings everywhere. He was wearing like bright yellow tank top with like pink black pants,
Right.
rings, chains everywhere. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
And he's white. Not to bring a race into this, but he's white. So
Mm-hmm.
we're sitting in the middle of Starbucks,
Right.
and one of the first questions he asked was, "Is it okay for us to sit here together?" And
Mm.
I said, "Don't worry about what anyone else is looking at. Just worry about
Right.
me and you right now."
Yeah.
And that was the first time I've ever been asked that question because I'm
Mm.
thinking, oh, what people think about me.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
lo, it's the whole time he's thinking about that. He's thinking about me on his behalf when he's the one who
Right.
needs help, right? And so now it's like, if you have a kid out there or a friend or a family or a friend who's autistic, like step up, like be that person for them. Or not
Absolutely.
even that, like there's other person that doesn't dress like you, doesn't talk like you,
Absolutely.
who would quote unquote be weird looking based on earthly standards. Like still be that friend because don't allow what other people's perception of you being in proximity to them
Yeah.
deter you from being a blessing in that person's life.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm learning. I used to be a prayer partner in my church, and I would always sit in front of where my prayer section was, would always be in front of where the
Mm-hmm.
special needs kids would be. It would be the
Mm-hmm.
same person with autism would always walk up to me and ask for prayer. And he was a little bit nonverbal, but he knew who I was. And we would always just pray together. And so it would always warm my heart that that there's still people, but don't shy away from being good to those people, especially those are the people who Jesus would hang around with.
Exactly. And I'm so happy you said that. I really am because as a kid, and this has nothing to do with my spiritual walk or anything, but as a kid, I was the type to sit with the ones that most people are not befriending. I could have been friends with anybody. I
Hmm.
was literally friends with anyone. Yes, the popular people knew me. People would have considered me popular back in high school. I did not, because I knew them, I didn't like hang around them or nothing. I had my own little friend group, but I was adamant about, making sure that the people that didn't have a lot of friends, me showing myself friendly to them, me always saying hi to the special needs kids. I don't care if they was in a wheelchair, they're drooling down the mouth. I don't care. Hi, how are you today? I was always that kid, and I was always the kid in high school that bullied the bullies. If I saw
Yeah.
any bullying going on, I'm speaking up. I'm
Hmm.
saying something. And I was doing that as a kid. So as a kid, that has carried on into my adulthood. Now, am I saying there are times where I may have felt uncomfortable in a situation? I would be lying if I said no, but I've always been that type of person to just stick up for people that, you know, being a voice for the voiceless, or just, befriending people who didn't have a lot of friends, because having friends for me, it was easy.
Yeah.
Um, Girls, they want to be your friend based off of how you look, not realizing they got a whole agenda behind, you
Hmm.
know, meaningless friendship. So I had to learn at a very young age that people, their intentions.
Yeah.
How does your heart look? How does your spirit
Mm.
look? I remember this one time I was going out, we were in college, and my friend, I had a little friend group, and I've always had pretty friends, because that saying is true. Pretty girls want to hang around pretty girls.
Yeah.
But I always also had just other friends,
Yeah.
who to society standards were not considered, so
Yeah.
pretty or whatever. So one night we were going out, and my friend, she was gorgeous, and one of my other friends had wanted to come with us into this outing. I think it was, like how college, they had clubs, but not really like clubs. We were
Yeah.
just going to. So we were stepping there, and my the one that was gorgeous, she was like, she pulled me to the side. She was like, "We're not going in there with her." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Why not?" She was like, "I'm not walking in there with her." And I'm like, "Why?" And
Yeah.
she would answer me without being mean and saying
Yeah.
certain things. So there are, even though people are pretty, like what's it look like in the inside?
Yeah.
That I don't care really how you look on the outside. Because my other friend, she was very nice to me. She never did nothing to me that I
Yeah.
can't walk in the party with her. And I did walk in the party with her. Like I made sure I'm like, okay, well, you go first.
Yeah.
You could go in first. I don't want her to walk in this party alone. So
Yeah.
that's just the person I am, though. I always have been. I don't like that like pretty people having ugly spirits. Like if you're ugly on the inside, it doesn't matter what you look on the outside. Like I make sure people can say about me, not only are you, you know, beautiful on the outside, but you're also beautiful on the inside. Like
Yeah.
that's just something I've always made sure that I could that people could say about me. I'm not saying it myself, just people around me, they know that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's powerful. Yeah. It's just your heart posture. What does that say? Is that matching the outward appearance? Jesus tells us that, it's not what we eat and what we put on and what we consume, it's what's coming out.
Mhm.
That matters. For the the book, how did that come about? What inspired you to write the book? Where did the name of the book come from? Like, what was that process?
Sure. So I've always been a writer. Since I was a little girl, I've always loved to write my diaries, my journals, all of that. And I wrote an affirmation book for my son. It was just affirmations that I would say to him daily that turned into a book. Um, and that was called like "Do You See Me?" But I decided to write the second book and title it "My Sunshine on a Cloudy Day." I would always sing when he was a baby. Even when I was pregnant with him, I would sing, "You are my
Oh
sunshine,
yeah.
my lovely sunshine." Um, and out of when I would always sing that to him while I was pregnant. And then after having him, when I would sing that song to him, he would always smile because he
Mm,
recognized that song from being in the womb. So I decided to title it "My Sunshine on a Cloudy Day" because he brings sunshine to my cloudy days in real
yeah.
life. I've had a lot of cloudy days, but with him, he makes it all better. He gives me purpose. He gives my life meaning. And he gives my life just a whole new meaning. Being a mom is a different type of challenge, but it's a challenge that I have accepted, and he helps me through that. And just to share his journey
Yeah.
of autism, and what he's been through personally. He doesn't know he's autistic because I don't just label him that. He can
Yeah.
find out for himself when he's of age and when he comes to his own realization. But I really just wrote the book to highlight his journey, but to also encourage parents do the research to also seek early intervention for their children if they have any questions of whether their children are on the spectrum or not. Because early intervention, I do believe, helped my son not only with God's help, but
Yeah.
also early intervention helped with my son's growth, because a lot of parents um, are in denial, especially in our community. They're in denial, or they just don't. They always say, "Oh, they'll talk one day. Oh, they're just not talking right now, but they'll talk one day." That's not how you want to be. That's not how
Yeah.
we are. Our kids' advocates. We are the people that they trust. So, entrusting us with their lives and with our guidance, we are supposed to be able to, just seek help if you do have any questions that, kids, if your kid is on the spectrum, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends who, well, not a lot, let me take that back. I had a couple friends who I had to ask, do you, because now it's like, now I know that my son is autistic. It's so easy for me to point out if a
Yeah.
child is autistic or not. And like I said, I didn't know what autism was when I first heard of it, but now that I do know, it's so easy for me to detect whether a kid is autistic or not.
Yeah.
And I had a couple friends who were just in complete denial, but I wrote the book to encourage families to not be in denial, but to embrace
Mm-hmm.
whatever journey you're about to go through. There's kids that are like 10 years old who are nonverbal, but I believe with early intervention, they could be verbal right
Yeah.
now. you know they
Yeah.
could be verbal. 10 years is a lot to wait, because some parents, they don't even start their kids into therapies until they're like 8, 9,
Yeah.
10, like that. It's a little later. It's not too late, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's a little later. So I do believe early intervention is incredibly important, and also to encourage kids who have autism, like, and if they know it, that it's literally their superpower. It's not a limitation in any type of way. Like, I understand if your kid is nonverbal and things of that nature. I understand how that could be limiting in a sense, but seeking that intervention and putting them into those therapies to, eventually have them grow, and just pray. Have faith that your child will be able to tell you one day, "Mommy, I love you," or
Yeah.
"Mommy," because I will never forget the day my son said "Mommy" and
Yeah.
told me he loved me. And I cried when he told me that, because I never thought I would be able to hear him say those words, "Mommy,
Yeah.
I love you." And when he said that, I wish I would have got it on video, because I remember just completely breaking down, but I was so happy. I was happy. Those were tears of joy, because my son was beginning to express his feelings. He always could express his feelings through actions and things like that, but he was able to express his feelings through like talking. So um yeah, that's something that
Yeah.
I just highly encourage parents to understand, and that's really why I wrote the book.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to say that parents out there, or friends or family, that have autistic sibling or cousin or friend, um,
Mhm.
to anything you would like to say to help like uplift them, motivate them, during, you know, times when it could be difficult living with them or help or raising them?
Right. Life is so good with them. Like, life is great with kids, period. So even if, your kid may be neurodivergent, that is okay. There is nothing that limits them, because they're really smart. They're highly intelligent. Autistic kids are highly intelligent. Just because they might do things a different type of way, that doesn't mean that, it's limiting them, limiting. Am I saying that right? Limiting them. Am I saying that right?
Limiting that limits them.
Yeah, any way, shape, or form. Like, um, Yeah, limits them. Thank you. So it does not limit them in any way, shape, or form. Like they can bring joy into your life in so many different ways. Like the way my son sees the world, I wish I could see it that way. You
Yeah.
know, like we'll be in the mall or something and he'll point to some type of pattern that I would have never noticed, but he noticed. He's like, "Mommy, look, this is this way, and this is that way." They see just the world differently, a little differently,
Yeah.
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I wish I could see the world through their lenses. I
Yeah.
wish I could see the world how they see the world. Because my son, he has such a like an innocence about him, a pure innocence about him. And he just brings so much joy and love to my life, but also everyone's life around him. Like there's literally like, and I think that's what autistic kids bring, right? They bring that innocence about them because they see the world completely different than how we see it. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. I want people to understand that there's nothing wrong with them. They
Yeah.
are, I hate when, calling them like normal because like they are normal.
Yeah.
They're just neurodivergent human beings. And there's also non neurodivergent human beings. That's the
Yeah.
difference. That's literally the difference. So um it can be challenging. I understand in raising autistic kids, it can be, it has its, ups and downs, but that's with parenting in general. You can have a kid who is not on the spectrum and, you know, it's also challenging. Like it's challenging to be a parent, period. Like it's a
Yeah.
different calling. It's a different ministry, I guess,
Yeah.
for us, but it's not a burden. They're not burdens, um, they're not limitations. They are really just these super little human beings
Yeah.
that deserve to be loved, regardless of whatever they've been diagnosed with. They're going to be loved, and God will make sure they are loved with or without you,
Yeah.
period.
Because we're all made in his image. Thank you for
Amen.
sharing that. As we close, I get to the closing here. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for really being so vulnerable,
Yeah, I've
Erica.
enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Um, what would you say
Mhm.
to your younger self or future self or both?
Mhm.
What would you say to your younger self? And then what would be some questions you like to ask your future self?
Okay. To my younger self, I would say that's a great question because I never thought about it this way. I think to my younger self, I would say, um, it's always going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like you're going to live another day. It's going to be okay. Um, Certain things that, I went through as a child, like it all had a meaning. It all had a purpose. Because I had been asking God to just show me my purpose here and show me like why I'm here. And He has done just that for real. And He's like showing me more and more each day as to
Yeah.
why I'm here and why I'm not dead. Because, like I said, excuse me, I had 3 near-death experiences, and then also at one point was suicidal, like around like 18 through like 25. I struggled with suicidal thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I had actually like visited a bridge, and I was going to jump that bridge, and for some reason I was at the bridge and I was like smoking too. Like I was smoking and I was at the bridge. I was going to jump. But I looked down. I was like, I don't think this is a bridge that's high enough for me to do this. And I just went back home. And that night, like I just cried and cried. And I remember I prayed. I said, God, I just want to go to sleep. And that's it. I just want to go to sleep. And as soon as I said that, it was like an immediate hug. Like He gave me
Yeah.
an immediate hug. And I went to sleep. And it was crazy because not a few days later, someone actually jumped off that bridge, that same bridge
Wow.
I had visited, and all their bones were broken, but they didn't die. So
Wow.
I'm like, dang, I see it. It wasn't high enough. Like I had calculated in my head. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's high enough. But yeah, they had broke a lot of their bones and they didn't die though.
Yeah.
So I know that
Wow.
was God keeping me and
Yeah.
saving me. So I would just tell my younger self, like, all of this is going to be worth it one day. And you were so loved. You were so, because that was something I never really grew up knowing how loved I was, or
Mm-hmm.
just how proud I am of just how I've grown. Like, I never heard, just how you said, you never heard like, I'm proud of you, things like that. I never
Yeah.
grew up hearing that either. So I would just tell my younger self how proud I am of her, of how much she's grown and how much she's overcame just the obstacles that were supposed to defeat her. And
Yeah.
through God's help, it didn't succeed. The devil cannot win.
Yeah. Amen.
So I would say that, and I would say everything always gets better. Like, it's not the end.
Yeah.
And then for my future self, I'm really trying to wrap it up down here because I can't stay up down here too much longer. I really just want to meet my God, literally. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want. Like, I think that's just in my heart right now. Like, I know He's coming back
Yeah.
again, and I just want my present self, my future self, to be ready for His second coming,
Yeah.
to be ready to enter into His kingdom. And also because I pray every day, I'm like, I want me, because I always, I've always been a hustler. I've always been a go-getter. Like, I had a job at the age of 13 years old. I've always, just been that go-getter type of
Yeah.
female. And, you know, me having the thoughts of, or God allowing me to have the thoughts of legacy,
Yeah.
leaving things for my kids' kids, and generations. Like, I've always, that's always been a goal of mine. But now we're in the final days. Like, my goal is to have my legacy in heaven with me, so we can both live in heaven together. That's what I
Yeah.
want. That's what I desire. I really just want my future self to be prepared for
Yeah.
him. And I want to just do his will, because I feel like I've done it my way for so long.
Mm.
And doing it my way has got me nowhere but heartbroken, crushed,
Let's talk about
uh,
it.
in trouble. Thank God I've never been to prison, because baby, the way I used to crash out, I should be in jail. Okay, doing time, but the Lord's grace and mercy has prevented me or saved me from doing that, uh, or being,
Yeah.
uh, incarcerated and things like that. So,
Yeah. If
um,
there's if there's one Bible story or Bible verse, and it's okay if you don't necessarily know where it is, but if there's one Bible story or Bible verse that really moved you or has really been like gets you every time, what would that be?
honestly,
Mm.
Da- David's story. I prayed to God. I say, please give me the spirit of David, his just his courage and just the
Yeah.
way he loved God. He was a man after God's own heart. I want to be a woman after God's own heart. I want what God wants. I
Yeah.
want him to know, if he has my heart, I want to have his heart too. Um, and that's because that's how I am in relationships, you know what I mean? So right now I'm married to Christ, I'm married to Jesus. So
Mm.
I want his heart. Like, I just want to be a woman
Yeah.
who pleases his heart. So I really admired the way David was a man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
Um, I love the story of Job. I love the story of Daniel. But those were really like, I asked for the faith of Job,
Yeah.
the faith of Daniel. But the one that spoke the most to me was David's story.
Yeah.
And, God kept his promise to David with, like,
Despite
in
all
regard,
his sins and mistakes. Yeah.
despite all his sins and mistakes, he kept his promise to David, in regards to his legacy, because Jesus is a part of
Yeah.
David's lineage. And that happened generations and generations after David had been long gone. But I admire the way that God kept his promise. So
Yeah.
I want that same, like, legacy promise, because there's a reason why God always planted those thoughts in my head of just making sure my generations to come would be cool with
Yeah.
breaking generational curses, but also having I always thought, financial like
Yeah.
things, but now I'm thinking more spiritual um, um, blessings,
Yeah.
and not just financial blessings. Like financial blessings could, of course, be a part of this, but I want also those spiritual blessings with my legacy,
Yeah.
because
That's so
I want
good.
to see God one day, and just I tell my son all the time, like, you see this sky, you
Yeah.
see this is God's creation.
Yeah.
Jesus did this. Jesus can protect you. Jesus is the one that keeps. I'm always just speaking life and about God to him, so he
Yeah.
understands
This is so
that.
good. Second to last question is, if you could, I know we we joked about it a little earlier when you talk about ride or die. If there is one word you can use to describe God or Jesus, what would that be? What does he mean to you?
I I feel like there's not one word that I can really.
Well, not one word, but I'm saying like what would be one word that you resonate the most to? You know,
I
like some
say
people say like one person I met, he said like present. He's always present. One
yeah.
person said he's like my joy. One
Mhm.
person I know said um, my redeemer. Right.
Yeah.
So what would be one word that
I,
you would what does Jesus mean to you?
I would say my love.
Mm,
There, my love, because I've always loved hard.
yeah.
I've always loved, like, when I'm like in relationships or family friendships, I always give it my all. I always
Yeah.
love hard. That's something I've always done. So knowing that he loves me just like that, if not more, I would say that, yeah, he my love for real. Like
Yeah.
that's just really just what he is, because he is love. God
Mm-hmm.
is in
Yeah.
real life. And he loves me, and he shows me every day how he loves me. Like lately, I don't know if you saw on my TikTok, he's been sending me butterflies. So like
Yeah.
butterflies literally just fly across my face or be on my front porch. Like that butterfly I posted on TikTok, he was on my front porch. Um, and I've been seeing like a butterfly every day. I'm like, dang, you really love me for real.
Yeah.
Because butterflies mean symbolize freedom. They go through a transformation
Yeah.
from that caterpillar,
Mm-hmm.
that that cocoon, and out from that cocoon they turn into a lovely butterfly. And I feel like that's him showing me the transformation I'm currently going through,
Yeah.
um, just
That's
from
so
last
good.
year when he gave me that word back in September to now. I
Yeah.
was that caterpillar in my sin, in my iniquity. Then he had to go ahead and wrap me up and to cocoon me and to, get me together to
Yeah.
now transform me into this beautiful person that I'm supposed to be for
Yeah.
him only. So
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. The last question would be if what message, well, two messages. What message do you want to leave with the people watching this and the people who will watch it in the future? Just the world in general, from your past,
mhm.
and then a message for where you are right now, growing up with a son um with
Mhm.
autism. What would be a message you would like to, or two messages you'd like to leave for the world?
One is Jesus saves, and he loves you. Jesus loves you, and he can save you. He really can take everything that I have said today, everything that Malachi has said today, experience, sharing our testimonies. He can save, and he wants to love you if you let him.
Mm,
If you let him, if you want to be loved, if you are looking for, if you feel like, your life is not going nowhere and you just feel stuck, God will show you. Like I said in the beginning, he's the type of God that will leave his 99 to go find that one that lost his way. That's the
yeah.
type of God he is. Do you know what that, like, do you comprehend what that really means? Like, what do you mean you will leave your 99 for, a few seconds, few days, however long it takes to go find your lost one? And the Bible says when he finds that lost one, they rejoice. Heaven rejoices because they came back. Like the shepherd rejoices, So knowing that, and knowing that he loves me that much, that he wouldn't let me go. As much as I tried to be let go. I tried. I tried to be let go. I didn't want
Yeah.
nothing to do with God. I would even get mad if anyone mentioned God. That's
Yeah.
the type of person I was.
Yeah, the word says that there's nothing that we can do or what this world can do that can separate us from the love of God. So, like you said in the early beginning, we can move, but God never moves. We can move
Yes,
farther away from him, but he's right there the entire time.
he's there the entire time. So the Bible says you seek and you shall find. I started to seek God, and he found me.
Yeah.
I was a lost soul, and I'm not supposed to be here.
Amen.
So the fact that I'm here is just a testimony within itself. So I have to tell people that the same way he loves me, he can love you.
Amen.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. And what about a message for those who are raising kids with autism, or maybe has a sibling or a family or a friend with autism?
Just make sure you love on them and be their advocate, be their that person that you know um just advocates for them, because it gets easier, it gets better.
Yeah.
It and that's with anyone with a child that has a disability. They're very loving. And my son, um even if I have to take care of him my whole life, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
truly, because he's a part of me. So your children, your family, your friends, they're a part of you. Whether you
Yeah.
know that or not, they're a part of you. So it is your duty to just love them, love on them. Do not treat them differently,
Yeah.
and if you see anybody treating them differently, like I'm such a fighter. Like, if I see anything, like, it don't sit right with me, I'm gonna say something. So
Yeah.
do that same thing for them, because some of them can't advocate for themselves. So it's your
Yeah.
duty to do that for them.
Yeah.
And
That's so good. Yeah.
it's their superpower.
Yeah.
It's not a limitation. It is their superpower.
Yeah.
And they're like our little superheroes in real life. Like,
Amen.
really, my son has saved me from a lot. I had to grow up when I had him. Like, I had him at a younger age, so I was forced to grow up and realize, different things in life. So I'm happy that God blessed me with him so I could do just that.
Yeah. Well, this has been a blessing. It's definitely been a blessing conversation. We'll wrap up here. And so this is the Messenger Podcast, the Messenger Podcast on major platforms. This is Erica. You want to just share I know you only have TikTok and Twitter right now. You want to share your handles?
Yeah. Erica, ERICAUA YUEH. UA is my middle name. So yeah, this has been such a pleasure. Make sure y'all follow, like, subscribe.
Yeah. And my name is Malachi Burden, Malachi Burden _ on all major social media platforms. And last but not least, we're going to do a little giveaway in the near future. So Erica, as she said before, she has a book out. And so we would like to do a giveaway raffle for those who are interested in her book. Maybe it could be a gift for yourself if you have a kid with autism, or a family gift, Christmas gift, holiday gift for somebody else out there. So look out for the raffle. Stay tuned for that. We'll be posting that on social media as well. And any last words, Erica?
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, and I wish you nothing but success with your podcast, and I really appreciate you for having me on here.
No problem. Well, until next time, everyone, stay blessed, stay prayed up.